Yo, what's up guys? Bruno with Fiora bringing you a video about Ghost versus Flash. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons and when you should take either or. Let's jump right into it. So first and foremost, I just want to look at just win rates, right? So we have Flash and Teleport, Flash and Ignite. I mean, these are 51%, 51%. This is going to be the most common. This is Plat Plus, and we can kind of move this around and probably see pretty similar things. But then we're also going to see like Ghost and Ignite, and then Ghost and Teleport. And I mean, they're all winning win rates, right? I mean, 51, 51, 52, 51. I'm sure if we jump this around, we're still going to see very similar. Flash, Ignite a little bit less. Ghost and Flash seems to be the most, but you know, the least played. So let's talk about it, because obviously both of these are viable. They're both great on the champion, but we need to know when and why we're using them, right? So Flash pros: fast 4, you're able to do the fast 4, you're able to do the Flash Vital trick. And now some people might not even know what that is. If you don't, I'm sure I could just, my editor probably put a video right here, season 13 Fiora guide. You can actually, it's like the first 5 minutes, you can see what those are and what that means. With Ghost, you obviously can't do that. With Flash, you can. Now, obviously, is this a mechanic that's like super valuable on Fiora? Not necessarily. I mean, it's very hard to do. It takes practice to do. It's risky to do. But can it save you? Yes. Does it look really cool? Yeah. And I mean, is it gonna just make for some really cool montage clips? Yes. But the thing is when you don't have Flash, you don't have the ability to do so, and sometimes in rare occasions it's gonna keep you alive, and it's important, but that's something that you're not gonna be able to do without Flash. So it's a pro to have that. It is a faster gap closer, so it's easier for one-shotting carries that are in the back line. Let's say you got a Vayne back there that's one shot and you just want to go in and hit a quick Vital. The Vital is right in front of you. Just flash in, boom, kill the Vayne, use your parry, and then try to disengage or have team collapse on whatever the fight is happening. You won't be able to do that with Ghost, but with Flash you can. Large wall gaps. Okay, so like in top lane where you can flash over near the Triforce wall, that you can only do that with Flash. There's other places over the map where Flash is extended, where you can flash over those walls, and without it, you can't close those massive gaps and do those little glitches, quote unquote, basically. But now let's look at the cons of having Flash, right? So it is a higher cooldown. Against heavy CC comps, and this goes for Ghost and Flash, I mean, against heavy CC comps, it doesn't really matter, right? Like if you flash in and then you get stun locked, it just doesn't matter if you have that or Ghost. I mean, that's kind of a con for both. Certain champs have secondary gap closers slash disengages. So let's say take Vayne, for example. So if I was to flash in and go on Vayne and she's on ulti, she could just use her E and get away. Some champions like Jace, they have their knockback, but then when they run phase rush, that counts as a secondary disengage as well. So sometimes with those lanes or those 1v1s, Flash doesn't really matter, and you just have to be really precise. So obviously these champions that do have secondary cooldowns, disengages, you have to still be precise with the cooldowns, understand, be like, okay, well, he's got his ulti down, I can go for this because he only has one thing that he can stop me with. So if I flash in, I should be okay. But if I flash in, I'm not keeping track of cooldowns, well then there's no point. So some examples of champions that I would personally run Flash into would be champions like Yone or his ulti, right? I always want to slide parry and try to catch his ulti on purpose to stun him, but if I'm unable to do so, I can just flash right inside of his ulti and then he won't be able to get away, or I can flash, parry, and then stun him. Riven is a good one as well. You're always looking to try to stun her with her 3Q. It's the most obvious ability that you can stun her with, and sometimes she is able to create the gap, and then you can slide parry in and catch the 3Q and stun her that way. Camille is another good example where Flash is good. Camille goes for the hook shot, you slide parry into the wall, stun her on the wall, and then she's stuck there, right? So we'll move on to Ghost now. So let's look at some pros for Ghost. Lower cooldown. So it is a lot shorter of a cooldown. It's 210 seconds compared to the 300 seconds that Flash has. So that is, you know, a minute and a half difference, which is pretty important, right? It's a larger gap closer that ramps up. So it's scaling with your levels. So you're gaining 24 to 48% movement speed based on your champion level. So it ramps up over time. So it's actually a scaling summoner spell, similar to like Ignite. As the game goes on, you're actually going to gain more movement speed. It's very good for ranged laners, just because not only does it ramp up, but if you were to go for, let's say you were able to get into melee range of a ranged laner and then you activate Ghost, it makes it much, much harder for them to create a distance and safely kite you when you have an extra 40% movement speed, right? So really good against ranged. Very good for cleanups on team fights because of the reset value. So it extends its duration on takedown, and this is assists or kills. So either or. If you go into a team fight and somebody's low, typically the way that you want to play Ghost is somebody's getting low and they're about to die that you have either assisted on or you're about to get the kill. Then you would proc Ghost, so you would extend the duration of Ghost even longer. So not only is it 10 seconds, now it's 18 or 20 seconds, right? So now you've got this much longer Ghost cooldown and you can just chase down everybody on the map. It's like, why have one when you can have all of them? Because you can just keep up with all of them. They can't really split off and get away from you. Ghost is also really good with Fiora because it pairs really well with Fiora. So Fiora has movement speed just embedded into her kit. The ulti gives you movement speed, the vitals give you movement speed, the Q is a dash that allows you to move faster as well. So adding more movement speed to it, sometimes it can feel a little bit overkill if you're not used to it, but once you've played it more, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a blast, because you're moving like crazy. Also, like the mythics that work for Fiora right now, like Stridebreaker and Trinity Force, they have movement speed embedded in them as well. So having Ghost, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. It's a lot of fun once you get used to it. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but you are zooming Fiora, and it's a good time. Some of the cons are there's no immediate disengage if you make a mistake. So let's say you get caught out in enemy jungle or in a team fight, somebody flashes on you and CCs you. You can't flash to avoid abilities. So you're not going to be able to just teleport and blink away. You're going to have to wait for that movement speed to ramp up. So if you get caught, you're caught. You're probably not going anywhere. You probably just died. So hard CC will shut you down, and slows will shut you down as well if there are a lot of them. So even though you might have 40% increased movement speed, let's say you're going against Nasus Wither, you're going all the way down to like 20 movement speed anyways. So even if you have Ghost, it doesn't really matter. By the time the Wither wears off, Nasus is right on top of you, bonking you. So you're not really going to get away. Hard CC, anything that's going to stun lock you, obviously. I mean, if you press Ghost, it's not going to give you tenacity. It's not going to help you with any of that. So you're going to be kind of screwed there as well. And one of the biggest things, one of the biggest cons is that resets are absolutely required to maximize value. Just because you're using Ghost doesn't mean that you're going to get the kill. You got to make sure that you're using it properly. Got to make sure that you are holding off on actually activating it until an enemy is about to pass and you're about to get a takedown, whether that be an assist or kill. And then you want to activate it so that you make sure to extend that duration and keep the Ghost going. Because if you activate Ghost early into the fight and the fight takes 8 to 10 seconds and you're not able to actually get a shutdown, then it's not going to reset, and then you're just it's not going to matter, because then it's just going to fall off, and then Ghost is over, the fight's still going, and you're like, oh no, so now I have no movement speed and I've got nothing to work with. Some examples of champions that I would run Ghost into would be Vayne, Gangplank, for example, Cassante, Tryndamere, and Kayle. I think all those champions only have, like, Gangplank's got just as slow from the barrels, but you can typically get through that with, and he's got movement speed buff too, so it's really helpful with that. Cassante, crazy movement. One flash is just not enough for that guy. If you flash, I mean, he's just going to close the gap anyway. Your best bet is trying to kite him out with Ghost and ulti and just run in circles around him. Tryndamere, you know, he's just going to do the same thing. He's going to chase you, and that's where Ghost comes in handy. And then Kayle, I mean, she's got a little bit of movement speed, but you really just want to stay on top of her and be able to move out of the way when she ults and then get back in, so the extra movement speed is very helpful as well. I think both summoner spells are very good for Fiora. I really do. I think it's all about just knowing when to use either or, and I'm really hoping that this video helps you guys out knowing when should I take Flash and when should I take Ghost. So we see Ghost is becoming more common, and some people might be wondering, oh, well, why? And now we know. So typically you're going to see Ghost come more in handy when you're actually going the Divine and Grasp build, but there's still some value in Ghost just in general if you want to take Stridebreaker and Triforce or whatever it may be and take Ghost with those. But I would say that Ghost is much better with Divine and Grasp because it just works better that way when you're just poking with the max range Qs, and then once you're ready to go for the kill, you go ahead and proc the Ghost, and then you try to finish out enemy champions. So hopefully this video helps you out on your decision making when it comes down to when to choose Ghost or Flash in your ranked games, and makes it just a little bit easier for us. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace out. Love ya. Bye bye.